lesson 8, and it's called ordered pairs. We are going to be doing some graphing today. So we remember back at Christmas time, I gave you some worksheets where they asked you to color in squares. It was the box, the page with all the squares, right? And then it made a picture at the end. So that was a form of graphing, and that's what we're gonna be doing more graphing today. So we just have some more terms to introduce to you. Are you boys finished with your conversation? One of you might have to leave this table if you can't stop talking now. I need you to pay attention to the math lesson. Okay. This is the last lesson, like I said. So this is the last lesson about patterns. Patterns are used to solve problems. So that's what all of these lessons have been about, using some sort of patterns in order to solve a problem. This time, we're going to talk about the axis on when you're looking at a grid. It's basically a place where how you know where to put the dot when you're graphing something. So if I were asking you to graph something just like those pictures that we did before, and you colored in the square, and those ones had like letters across the bottom and numbers up the top, up on the side, and then they would tell you maybe like D10, and you would color in that box a certain color. Okay, so it's like that. Yes. Either in your notes or on your whiteboard, if you would like to write this one down or write out how you're going to solve this one. This one says, Iman Blue, Amy Black, and Federico Green are wearing sweaters that are blue, black, and green. The sweaters do not match the wearers' names, and Federico is not wearing a blue sweater. Who's wearing which color sweater? So this is a riddle, kind of like what we did during Christmas time too, remember, and Thanksgiving when I gave you the ones about the people sitting at the tables eating and all of that. So it's kind of like that. So here's a good way to start out, like to organize your information. Always a chart is a good idea. So if you put, I'm going to put the color of their last name. This is Iman Blue, Amy Black, Federico is green. Oops, and I need, yeah. And then we have the colors across the top. Blue, black, and green. Then we're going to use this chart to try to figure out, maybe make X's where you know they can't be wearing that color based on the information that you have, and try to see who's wearing what color. Okay, so take a moment. You can use whatever kind of chart you want. This was just my idea of how I would set it up, but you can do it however you would like. Okay, so whatever makes sense to you. Take a minute or two to try to figure this one out. Okay, let's see if you guys got it. So, let's see. Iman Blue cannot wear blue, right? Amy Black cannot wear black, and Federico Green cannot wear green. And then it also tells us that Federico's not wearing blue either.
Which means he's wearing black.
Right. So Federico can only be wearing
Black. So nobody else is wearing black.
Federico Green can only be wearing black. No, hold on. Sorry. Yes, I did. Yes. So, hold on. I marked out something wrong. So, Federico is not wearing blue. I did that correctly. I need it to go right here.
Black. BL is black. Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Okay. They both start with the BL, so that was hard.
I
guess I should have written down.
This is how I did.
I guess I should have written down my key.
No, you should have thought that I tried to get you.
Yeah.
You was looking at me. I kept
But
saying,
you wasted words.
Yes, you can go. Yeah, he left already.
No, don't waste it now.
no, mountain.
Okay, let me take a second to get your attention back one more time. 3, 2, 1, 0. Sorry, I wrote in the wrong box, so now I fixed it. So Federico Green is wearing black. Then we have, since he's wearing a black sweater, that means that no one else can either, right? Because everybody's wearing a different color sweater. So that means this person isn't, which means that person has to be wearing green, because that's all that's left. So Iman Blue can only be wearing green. And then that leaves Amy Black
Blue.
to only be wearing blue.
Oh, yes! I did wait, kind of choice.
Yes, good. So that was a good chart. All right, let's look at the next slide.
Yeah, you said Amy's green.
We have some notes to take. So here's what I need you to write. Make sure that I can see your eyes on over this way, so I know you're looking at me and at the screen. In your notes, I need you to write chapter 7, lesson 8, and it needs to say ordered pairs. And then I need you to draw this the best that you can. So if you use the lines of the paper that you're writing on, it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to take up the whole paper. But you're going to want to at least you'll want to use about half the page, because you want it to be big enough to be able to do all the little dots. So 7, your number line needs to go up to, because there's a 0 there too. So your number line needs to go up to 7 on one side and 7 on the other side. So I'm going to give you a minute to draw that, just like this one. You don't need to do all of these little lines in between. Something like this would be okay. Just use the lines on your paper. 0 would be here, 7 would be here, and then you fill in 1 through 6 all along both parts. Yes, you don't really need to do all of the little grid lines.
Anyway.
You can try if you have a minute, but we will use graph paper for other parts. But for right now in your notes, you need regular paper. Either you're going to get an ordered pair and you're going to graph it, or they're going to show you a point on a graph and you have to say what the ordered pair is. So before we do any graphing, we're going to write a few things in our notes. So I have to kind of write around this little thing and then I'm going to erase it. That's why I wanted you to copy it first. And then I'm going to write in some notes, which are some terms I want you to make sure that you know. And then I'm going to erase all that, and then we're going to start doing some graphing. Okay, so one term I've been using is ordered pair. That is the term really, it means that it's the place on the graph, it's the point on the graph in which you are graphing. So the ordered pair is a set of numbers to indicate a point. Then I'm going to show you an example of what that would look like. Ordered pairs are always written inside of parentheses with a comma in the middle. And the first number in the ordered pair is the number that goes across. Okay, we're going to talk about this more in just a second when I give you another vocabulary term. But the first number in the ordered pair is a number that goes across. So if I go over to the 4 first, 4 would be my first number in my ordered pair. The second number in my ordered pair is how many spots it goes up. So you go over first and then up. So if the ordered pair is 4, 3, it would be right here on my grid. Do you see how I've gone over 4 and up 3? Everybody see that? So on an ordered pair, you go over first. No, you don't need to write that on the graph. I was just trying to show you. So what's important is that if you write the example of an ordered pair, which is 4, 3 is my example, and then make sure you write the part that says over first and then up, because some people do it the opposite way. So if I did up first and then over, I would end up at a different place on my grid, right? If I did up first and then over, but it's always over first and then up. Now you can also label your points. So maybe I want to label this Q, whatever, usually they give it a letter. Then if I put a dot here, then I would put a letter Q next to it to show that that's where that point is on the grid. Okay, so a point, you can if you want to, I guess, and put one on 4, 3 and then put a Q by it. I have some others I want to do. I didn't go up to the letter Q, so that way you can have an extra one in your notes, I guess. So something else you have to know is there are two things. One of these is called an x-axis, and the other one is called a y-axis. Do you see these little letters here? So the x-axis is the axis that goes across this way. The x-axis is horizontal, goes this way. The y-axis is vertical, and it goes this way. Okay? So look at my chart here. The x-axis is the one that goes this way, and the y-axis is the one that goes this way. So those main lines, remember how when we started to draw ours in your notes, I told you just make like a capital L? So the first line in the capital L is the y-axis. It's the one that goes up and down. And then the x-axis is the one that goes across. And that's going to be the first number. So here, what else you can write next to all of this is the x-axis comes first, and then the y. Once we start, I just want to make sure you have this vocabulary stuff in your notes, and then we'll kind of keep referring back to it as we plot some points, okay? So don't feel confused. Here's a few vocabulary terms. Let me go over them one more time, then I'll answer your question. We have ordered pairs. Ordered pairs is just basically a fancy word for the set of numbers to show you where to plot your point. A point is a place on a graph or a grid. Okay, so the point that you plot depends on the ordered pair. So they'll tell you an ordered pair, and then you will use the graph paper, and you'll find exactly where that point would become on the graph. And then you put a dot there, and then you label it with whatever letter they've given you. So if they tell you that that is a letter Q, like I did on this one, you just put a Q next to it. Whenever you're plotting ordered pairs, you do the x-axis first, which is over. You do the y-axis second, which is the one that goes up. So first you go over, then you go up, never in reverse. Okay, you can never do reverse of that. So it's always over, then up. The x-axis is the one that goes side to side. The y-axis is the one that goes up and down. Okay? Karnpreet, what's your question?
I'll probably remember the x-axis and the y-axis because the y, at the end, it goes down. And
Oh, that may be a way. However you can
X,
remember it.
goes like-
Yes. So the y has like a straighter piece to it. Maybe that can help you to remember. Whatever you can think of to help you to remember. Okay, any other questions so far? We're gonna start plotting some points here. Let me make sure I got everything. All right, so here's what I mean by plotting some points. Let me zoom in a little so you can see better. I'm gonna make a list of some points. I'm gonna put like 3 of them up here, and we're gonna try to graph them. So point A would be ordered pair 2, 4. Point B would be ordered pair 4, 2. And point C, let's make it ordered pair 1, 3. So we're going to do these ones together. Yes. You need to write this. So we're going to do these ones together, and then I'm going to give you a few that I want you to do on your own. Okay? So I gave you 3 ordered pairs, and then the letter that comes before it just tells you what you're going to label it. Okay, so the first one, which is 2, 4, I'm going to label it with the letter A. Because your graph is going to have a whole bunch of little dots on it when we're finished. And if you don't label it with a letter, you're not going to know which one is which. Okay? It is exactly like Battleship. I'm glad you said that. If you've ever played Battleship, you've
I
used...
play it every day.
Good. If you've played Battleship, then you have used ordered pairs. So you're,
I love that game.
except it's a letter and a number, right? It's a letter and it's a letter and a number, like D2 or C12. It's just like that. You go over, then up.
I love that game.
Except here, we're doing 2 numbers. It's not a letter across the bottom. Okay? So 2, 4 means I go over first, 2 spaces, up 4 spaces. So my point A would be right there. There's one more word that we didn't write in our notes that you don't have to write it, but I just want you to hear it. It's the word origin. The origin is the 0. It means it's where you start. The word origin means it's where you started from. So the origin of our grid is always going to be 0. Maybe you just do this. This number goes first, which was 2. That's the X. Remember, it goes X and then Y. This is the X axis. So I do X first, which is 2. And then the Y axis is where you go up and down. So the Y axis says then you go 4 up. So that's how I ended up there at that point. So kind of like what Aiden was just mentioning, maybe. The second one is the same numbers, but they're flip-flopped. Is that the same point on this grid? Would 2, 4, and 4, 2 be the same point on the grid? No, I see some people shaking their head no. It's not, right? So 2, 4 means you go over 2, up 4. But the second one, point B, says 4, 2. So I'm going to go over 4 and up 2, which would be right here. So point B is in a different place. Even though it used the same numbers, because they were in a different order, it made it a different point. So that also means that if the question is to plot point A right here, 2, 4, and someone accidentally went up first and then over, they would actually end up with the wrong place on the grid. Right. They would end up with the wrong. You always start here at the origin.
I know, but like, you know how you place your dot? Does it matter which one of those corners as long as it's on the...
No, it's, look at, this is a corner here, look, 4, 2. See, it's where those two lines meet. Because you guys don't have a grid paper, you're just doing it in notes for now. You will have grid paper on the assignment. For this, it's just in your notes, and so you don't have like all the lines exactly accurate the way I have them here. Yes, hurry. Okay, now point C says 1, 3. Point C is ordered pair 1, 3. So I go over 1 and up 3. So point C would be right there. Yes, Nolan?
I did C in reverse.
Ah, so if you did 3, 1, you would end up right here, right? See how that's a different place? Everybody see where 1, 3 is located? 1 over 1 up 3. And 3, 1, if you did it in reverse, would be there. So make sure you look really, ooh, sorry about that.
It's okay, I forgive you.
All right, let me give you a few more. Let's do D, E, and F. You do not have to, I accidentally hit the clear button. Use the same grid. Use the same grid.
Okay, that was kind of awesome.
Here's D. D would be 0, 6. Ooh, that's tricky. E is 3, 3. F is 5, 6. I'm going to replot the 3 that I just erased so that you can see them. Do whichever ones you can. If you're not sure how to do one,
Is D 0, 6?
If you get E wrong, then that's...
well, just see. We'll see.
How do you get E wrong? That's what I'm saying.
How would you do 0, 6?
You go to the end.
How would you do,
You stay on
Malachi?
the bottom, I guess?
So, well, on the bottom would mean you wouldn't go over. So that, remember the x-axis is the one that goes across? And if it says 0, it means you stay right here at the origin, and then all you do is go up 6. Did you have that one, Malachias? Did you have it right there? Yep.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So, do you see where 0, 6 is? You can actually have a point that is plotted directly on the axis lines. And that's what happens if there's a 0 in there. So this one, the 0 was in the x, on the x-axis, which is this one. So that means you don't go over at all. You stay right there. And then all I did was move up 6. So that's why D goes right here. Try to make sure you get E and F in there. Yeah. Well, the E is 3, 3. C 3. And then up 3. Be right there.
Oh, I thought it was 13.
Oh no, that's a 3. Sorry, that's a comma in the middle.
Oh.
Where's your glasses?
Still broke.
So I'm plotting E right here, over 3, up 3. F over 5, up 6.
Oh, D is equal to 6.
See how you can have so many points plotted on one grid? Do you see why we needed to label them and give them letters?
Yeah.
So if we didn't give them letters, you would just have a whole bunch of dots on there, which
You'd be like, which
Yes, which would possibly be right, but it would be hard for me to correct it or for anybody to see which points you meant to plot in those parts. Okay, everybody get those ones? Remember, this is the most important thing to remember on ordered pairs. You go over first and then up. The only reason why people get these wrong is they do that in the reverse. When you're plotting, you count over first and then up. Got that? You go over first, then up. All right.
Over and up.
That is the number one thing to remember.
Over and up.
Okay, let's look in on your examples.
I remember watching a movie, you said over and up.
There you go. Example number 1. So Amy's in this one too. Amy was in the other one too.
Amy's famous.
All right, so example number 1. Name the ordered pair for the location of Amy's house. An ordered pair, remember, is a pair of numbers used to name a point. Look at, they're giving you several. They're giving you all this vocabulary and stuff that we've already written. So here's your vocabulary about ordered pair and what that is. They told you about the x coordinate or the x-axis and the y. So the x comes first and then the y. So they actually use red and blue. They use 2 different colors, showing you go over 3 and up 5.
What do you mean the order pair?
So the answer to this, see, that's what I was trying to tell you at the beginning of this. Sometimes they're going to give you a blank grid and give you a bunch of ordered pairs like what I just did and ask you to plot a bunch of points on the grid. Sometimes they're going to do the reverse, like this one, where they have a point that's already plotted for you and you have to tell them what is the ordered pair that goes with that point. So here's Amy's house right here. So now it's not 5, 3. 3, 5, because you go over 3, up 5. So then the answer would be Amy's house is at 3, 5 on that map.
Well, where did you write on the order of pair then?
The ordered pair is 3, 5. Yeah. Let me go to my next slide so we could fill in all the missing pieces. Oh, we start at the origin. The origin is always 0, 0. Remember at the corner? You move right along the x-axis until you're under Amy's house. And the x coordinate would be 3. Then you move up until you reach her house, and the y coordinate would be 5. So then our ordered pair is 3, 5.
Oh,
That's how you fill in those lines. You know, the lines sometimes make it confusing.
Yeah.
I see. I thought this was 2 different things. It's so hard.
No, it's not. It's all one question. All right, example number 2. Name the point for the ordered pair 2, 3. So again, this time, they've got a whole bunch of points that are already plotted there. I'll wait for you to not talk. We're almost done. A lot of points that are already plotted, and you have to go through and find which one is at 2, 3. Like which letter is the point that goes at 2, 3. So we start at the origin, 0, 0. We move along the right axis until we reach 2. Because that's what it says. 2, 3 is our coordinate we're looking for. So until we reach the 2. Then we move up until we reach the 3. So it looks like the point D would be the one that's named by the ordered pair 2, 3.
Oh, I see it.
So sometimes they're going to put, see, the other one was like a map when it was someone's house we were looking for. This time it was a specific point. So you would just put D. If this was a question saying where is point 2, 3, you would say D. Yes. 0, 0 is always where you start, right there. Right there is the point 0, 0. It's the origin. So you can't, like, if I started right here and started counting over 3,
That is just
right. So 2 is on this one, 2 is the x, that's the number you go across. 3 is the y, which is the number that you go up. That's why we wrote these numbers in here. And then we found that D was where we ended up on that point. All right. Look at guided practice. You can work on guided practice, and then you can get started on the graphing on the rest of the set. Okay?